Welcome to Remote First Innovators, the podcast for leaders who are scaling companies built for the modern world. We sit down with founders and experts in distributed work to explore how they've broken down barriers and solved the real-world challenges of growing and running remote teams. Each episode dives into practical strategies for onboarding, IT, security, compliance, and everything it takes to build a thriving distributed business. No fluff, no theory, just what works when your team is everywhere and operations never stop. Here are your hosts, Robert Phelps and Jake Gump.
Welcome to another episode of Remote First Innovators. Today we're sitting down with a 24-year-old founder building in cybersecurity education. She's a former Division I basketball player who turned down a traditional engineering path to start a company, scale a global team, and even build her own internal operating system when the usual tools didn't fit. She's operating across time zones, learning delegation in real time, and tackling a topic of a lot of leaders quietly struggle with, imposter syndrome and women in tech leadership. Adaora, welcome to the show. Excited you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jake. It's amazing to be here.
Let's dive right in, get into your story. I mean, you're 24 years old. You just graduated recently. You played Division I basketball, and you're lined up to go into a corporate engineering role. And just walk me through the moment you decided, nope, I'm starting my own company. So what happened there?
Okay, so even when I started with tech, I never really knew where I wanted to go or even how to navigate in tech. Like with my bachelor's degree, anybody who's been a college graduate, especially Gen Z, they know doing a bachelor's degree in computer science is not necessarily mean you understand it. It means you're just going through the motions. And me playing Division I basketball simultaneously, I was just trying my best to get by. So it took maybe closer to my junior year to my senior year until I started understanding it, connecting the pieces a little bit more. Something just told me, hey, let's go get a master's degree as well. They're paying for it. So then I went ahead and did my master's degree in computer science and cybersecurity because I really wanted that cybersecurity touch. Like they didn't have a cybersecurity degree. So I was like, a concentration is just as good. I could just navigate through there. And I still didn't necessarily know exactly what I wanted to do. I just like, okay, let's go ahead and work for one of the best tech companies. Like what's the best tech companies or what am I trying to do? Didn't necessarily know an inch. So I was actually just applying for software engineer roles. I actually got an offer to Apple with their 6-month program. So I started as a tech specialist. I was working inside Apple while I was playing Division I basketball, doing vice president of women in computing, and then also doing my graduate studies. And they told me, hey, after 6 months staying here, you can go ahead and do a software engineer role in Cali. And I was like, okay, amazing. As soon as I started seeing like, hey, this is how the corporate world really acts, I realized like the corporate world really teaches you to not think outside the box. They punish you for thinking outside the box, drawing outside the lines. And I'm the type of person, you ask my coaches, you ask my mom, I'm Nigerian. In our Nigerian culture, it's either doctor, lawyer, or engineer. My mom told me to be a doctor. She grew me up being a doctor by a medical pathway. I chose tech. I absolutely chose tech. And I paid that way. Anybody who knows me, they call me the rebel. I just go ahead and do anything. So being in the corporate world is somebody like me, it's not gonna be very beneficial. Because I like to try new things. I like to go ahead and fall on my face, make mistakes, and be like, okay, I'll just do it better this time. I like to be on the court and hey, do her only rebound and do a random shot. Because hey, it won't hurt unless you try. But I was seeing like an Apple. It looked good the first 2 weeks. After as weeks went gone, and then they started getting used to you. It was like, hey, do this work. The work wouldn't matter. It wouldn't be like, hey, do something that you're really passionate about. Hey, do something that matters. It'll be like, hey, we need money and do this.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be necessarily growing you. It wouldn't be growing your skills. And half the time, like I was even going through a season-ending injury with basketball during that time as well. So like it'll be like different stuff. Like, hey, I can't stand for long periods of time, but I'll still have to go ahead and do that work. So it'll be like, okay, you're really not doing stuff for my best benefit. So then I was like, okay, let's go ahead and pause. Do I really want to go ahead and work into the software corporate world, making 6 figures, making money, and be miserable? Or would I like to build something from the ground up? Build it for me and other people who are like me or trying to grow to be in different environments with me and scale from there. Eh, Also, I told myself, hey, let's go ahead and start with something that I always wanted when I was a kid. I didn't necessarily know what the product was going to be, but I just told myself, hey, let's go ahead and just create something where it's a community. So Adaverse really just started as a community. I put first week out, hey y'all, I'm trying to start a tech company. Do I know where to start or where it ends? Absolutely not. But about 50 plus interns globally, I just kept applying. They used to keep looking at me like, oh, what are we doing? I'm like, like, yeah, give me 1 second. I'll get back to you. So it was a lot of building as I go. That's a lot of learning. Waking up at 5 a.m. learning. I used to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to sleep super late. Body was crashing out, and that's even part of my learning data. I started saying, okay, I can't keep doing this because as a founder, somebody who's trying to scale a company, I can't not treat my body right. You only have one body, especially if you're the founder. So the company is not going to go nowhere if you can't. The company is only as good as your founder. So if your founder is not scaling or improving themselves, the company is not. It's going to be stagnated. It's not. It's not going to grow. But if the founder is consistently trying to grow, elevate, learn, connect with people, and they're like not knowing everything. They're they're simple as, hey, I just don't know, or hey, I need help. That's how they grow. So I started showing people that, started being more vulnerable, started telling people in my company, hey, if you don't know something, tell me. If you need help or you just like need extra time or you just think you can't do something, just tell us. Like it doesn't matter if you think like we're gonna get mad. And like it's just more of a team collaboration. And that even goes with like how I host my team calls. How I host my team calls is not like, hey, everybody, it's Adaora. She's the dictator, she's the queen. Listen to her. It's more like, hey, so this is a really curious idea. I'm trying to figure out how to market our cyber edgy platform. Hey, Taylor, what do you think? Sasha, what do you think? It doesn't matter if you're the highest person in the company or the lowest person in the company. I make sure everybody understands that their value is needed. It matters. We want it because people have different ideas and different perspectives. People are from different places from the world. People had different experiences. So what I think is not necessarily going to be the closest to what we need for the market. Because at the end of the day, I'm not the consumer. I'm not the user, and it also doesn't help expand our global reach. Even if I don't like the idea, I'll be like, hey, it doesn't matter if I don't like it, say it. Because the company is not about me. The company is about the impact. Like, even with our feminine infrastructure, I tell them all the time, we build for impact because impact is the real power. And that's what Gen Z loves. Impact is the real power. So, that's really how I started it from graduating from college of basketball. I really chose, hey, I quit basketball because the season ended injury on my knee and went into tech full dive. And I never regretted not picking the corporate world for starting my own tech company.
Love that. What do you think about, playing Division I basketball? It's at a high level. Obviously you're navigating NIL and you played for some big colleges. Why don't you just talk a little bit about that and just how that experience was and maybe how that experience prepared you to, start your own company?
Okay. So, I had actually tore when I was 17, I had tore every single ligament in my knee. So originally I didn't even know if I wanted to play basketball anymore. I didn't know if I wanted to go to college anymore. I was like, guys, like I just started learning basketball in high school. I started getting good my senior year. And then 7 games in, my whole knee is gone. Maybe yeah, like maybe it's not for me. Like it went through depression episodes, and it took honestly to like one of my friends who's currently in the NFL, Sunny. He had told me, "Hey, Adora, go ahead and try college for 1 year. If you don't like it, you don't have to keep doing it." So I told myself, Okay, let's go ahead, try it with the knee for 1 year." 1 year turned into 6 years, really quick and really fast. My first year wasn't even my best year, and it wasn't my. It's probably close to my worst. I went in there and I actually picked a college who was still recruiting me after I tore my all my ligaments. Because when I didn't tear all my ligaments, I had like 40 plus offers. I had all the Power Five schools, every school I wanted. And then as soon as I said, "Hey guys, I tore my ACL," everybody was like, "Oh, bye." I was like, I get it. Like at the end of the day, they have a business to run. So, my first year, I committed to this college, Iona College. They had told me, "Hey, we've been with you since you before you tore your ACL. We're here after." I realized very quickly they weren't. It was a really different environment for me as well because I had changed from always being at home with my Nigerian mother, looking over my head, 6 p.m. curfews, to traveling all the way to New York City by myself. So I was like, okay, so I'm trying to navigate three things at once. Being away from my mother for the first time ever, my season-ending injury, trying to figure out how to gravitate and rehabilitate it, and the system, how to even playing on a team with new people, how college works, and the whole experience. I'm trying to navigate all that at once, and then you can't forget the academics. So I'm like, okay, my mom picked my major for me, which was originally biology. It was originally
That ain't
biology.
easy.
I told you she wanted me to be that doctor. If it wasn't for tech, I'd be a plastic surgeon right now or a neurosurgeon. So, after that, I did 1 year. It was a whole lot of emotional and physical abuse. Like sometimes my coaches would like try to get me to play so much because in their head I should be starting. I'm like, yeah, I'm a freshman, and my knee. It doesn't matter what I was doing or what numbers I was putting up. I don't understand how college basketball works with structure, and I don't understand how to move my knee. So they used to do little stuff like when nobody was in the gym, they would have me running when I wasn't even cleared, and it would just prolong my knee injury. So, and I didn't know any better at that time. So I was like, hey, my coach telling me to do this, so let me just do it. Or I'll be playing against like this a 6 year senior, and we really shouldn't have even been playing it, period. But they just told me, hey, you're a tough kid, you're a tough kid, and that's also like kind of where my mentality started formulating around then, where it's like, hey, playing through the pain. So I did that first year. I really didn't want to play to the second year. My mom told me, hey, just try it out for the second year.
Yeah.
COVID had blessed me. COVID blessed me. So as soon as COVID came, it gave me the option where we had extra years. It was like, hey, you guys could take an extra year. So immediately as we got that, I said, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. So because even in the summer, around the summertime, I re-injured my knee because they had me conditioning on wet turf, and it was a whole lot of issues. So it was like, as much as I tried, it just like wasn't working for me. So when I left because of COVID, I told myself, hey, I only have one goal, and that's to get my knee right and be as great as I can with this knee. So I just kept doing as much training as possible, rehab exercises as possible, and then I told my AU coach, go call the best coach in your phone and tell them, hey, I need a workout. And I told him I could guarantee that they would offer me. I just need one workout, one chance. So he called Auburn. Auburn said, okay, bring her over. Da, 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 da. Let's have a workout. As soon as they had a workout, they said they'll get back to me. And I already was committing to Alabama A&M because that's the school who took me after I left Iona College because I didn't have any game film. They're like, hey, your knee. So I didn't get as much good offers as I usually did. So I just had like 10-ish. So as soon as I was about to leave to Alabama A&M the last day, Auburn calls me like, "Hey, we have a spot for you. You want the scholarship?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So I'm on the phone with Alabama A&M trying to like break the news. I'm like, "Hey, so I will not be coming on campus tomorrow. You have to understand, Auburn women's basketball just offered me a scholarship." At at the end of the day, they had to understand. They're offering me like going downsizing my bedroom, whereas like I had my own room to sharing rooms. I was like, you guys have to understand. So I actually really loved Auburn, but the only thing with Auburn, it was more so athlete student versus student athlete. It was a great experience. You had lots of connections, lots of people, but they would ask me little questions like, "Hey, Adaora, why do you always skip practice for classes? Why don't you ever skip your classes for practice?" And right there when my division coach, my position coach, my post coach asked me that question, I just knew right then it wasn't gonna work out. Because I always told myself that I didn't want to go to, after I tore my every ligament in my knee, I told myself I didn't want to go to the WNBA. I told myself I just want to get 2 degrees and get it all paid for. That was my whole motto of playing basketball. So as soon as she said that, I was like, it's not gonna work, but I'm just gonna put my best foot forward because who knows? So I played. They tried to get me to come back for the next year, but I told myself, okay, if I was trying to do my classes and I'll attend all my classes, I would pay attention in class. I just wouldn't understand it. I was so tired. I was up practicing since 4 a.m., putting up extra shots. It was like sleep deprived off sleep. I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping up with basketball. And then I'm doing tutoring. I'm maxing out in study hours. And I still don't understand what's going on in class. So I was like, okay, if they think I'm gonna skip class and I'm struggling, I don't think it's the right fit for me. As much as I love Auburn, as much money as they were paying us, I was like, it's not the right fit. So I told myself, okay, let's go ahead and think about another college. What necessarily am I looking for a college? I told myself we're now looking for a Power Five school. That's number one. So no Power Five schools because they expect you to put your first athletic foot forward. And I was like, okay, it has to be somewhat close to home for two. And then for three, I said they have to prioritize my academics and I have to have a little bit of a life outside of it. So originally, I actually had originally committed to Northeastern originally, because they even told me that I could play whatever position I wanted on the court. Da da da. Then I had a visit with College of Charleston before the Northeastern visit. And then they started breaking down the realistic abilities. They started saying any coach who says that, they're tricky. They say that so you want to go there, you go there. The first year out, you're playing where your strengths are. You're not shooting threes on the 3-point line as a 6-foot post. You're gonna be in the block, backing people down and doing layups. And I was like, hey, I really admire somebody who's telling me the truth versus telling me what I want to hear. So I had committed to College of Charleston. They said they could get me to graduate with 2 degrees, which Auburn was only going to have me graduating with one for 6 years. And then they said, hey, they could help me with NIL deals. I'll have much more time to do anything outside of basketball I wanted. And I was like, hey, I wouldn't mind that. And I had my own room as well. I was like, let's go ahead and try it. My first year out there, I ended up starting. So I went from my first year actually playing was at Auburn with my injury. And it was like I got a little bit of playing time, not crazy too much because of my injury. But then my second year playing at College of Charleston, I just ended up being the starter. And then they noted me as the most elite rebounder. My coach used to say all the time, Adaora, if you could stop fouling, you'd be the first team all region for rebounding. Because you what he used to do is he used to calculate the number of seconds it would take me to rebound. And he said, Adore, honestly, you rebound the most after conference, but you just can't stay in a game. So I was like, hey, it is what it is. I have asthma. I was like, I have asthma. I was like, I'll be pulling my jersey. You guys don't take me out. So sometimes I just have to do a little foul. So I love the first year. The second year we had some different coaches where they don't really necessarily know you as a player. So they don't know you as a player, so they judge you, and then they also like they might feed to the other coaches like, hey, this is where I think she should be playing. This player might have attitude because they don't really take a chance to actually know the players. So as soon as they started not understanding how I operated, I ended up not even playing for the whole year. And they kept saying like, oh, Adore just doesn't want to play. I'm like, no, it's not that I don't want to play. It's just like I'm not gonna let somebody walk all over me. So I rather just take a pause and take a step back than let somebody walk all over me and tell me what to do and tell me to risk my body and just not care about me. So I allowed them not to play me for the second year. A lot of parents were complaining because we were losing like crazy that year. They were like, "Why are you guys not playing the starter post player? Like, what happened? Is she injured?" And I just had to be like, "Hey, talk to the coach. I don't know." So then my last year, that's when they put me back starting because they were like, "Hey, we're trying to win all team, our region. We're trying to be the elite." And then they also started understanding at the end of the year. They were like, "Oh, it was my fault this whole time that I just didn't understand how Adore operated." Because a lot of, especially a lot of female coaches, they'll come in and they'll play over emotions versus logics. So versus saying something like, "Hey, she normally gets like 16 rebounds or something a game. Let me play her." They'll be like, "Oh, she's very confident. She might be cocky. Let's not play her." So I'll be like, it's basketball. Like if you know you're good or something, you're gonna be confident about it. You're gonna be like, "Hey, coach, that 6'11" girl, I could get every rebound against her." But they wouldn't necessarily understand that. The male coaches who one of my actual post coach, he had left that year, so that's part of the reason. My male coaches, they'll understand it, but the female coaches, they'll be like a little bit emotional, like, hey, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm just excited. I'm just excited. I just want to play. Yeah. So my last year, I was really excited. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get first team our region. I'm gonna be the most elite rebounder. I'm gonna crash out in my grad school courses. I'm gonna get my job. So I was training like crazy. I was training. I was sleep deprived. I was studying. I'll be in that gym. I would be running. I even picked up the leadership role because it was my last year. I wanted to give back to the community that I spent my last 3 years with. So I took a leadership role with the baby post players. We had 2 post players. So I was like, hey, let me go ahead and make sure they're getting the reps they need to, because I don't have the body to be playing 40 minutes a game. I have one leg. And at that point I really had like one leg, one ankle, one arm, a couple broken fingers, a broken shoulder. So it's like I used to be so taped up in practices and runs. I used to be very concerned when I was still beating guards running and I only had like half a body. So I used to always be training with the freshmen. I'll be like, "Hey guys, let's go do extra conditioning with our strength coach. Hey guys, let's go put up some extra shots." Because I didn't want to play 40 minutes a game, and I wanted them to have the chance and opportunity as a freshman to be on a court and be on the court with me. So it didn't necessarily go as planned because a lot of freshmen is really hard. It's not a physical capability for them. It's a mental. So it's really hard for them to get out that mental state. Like, hey, I can make this time. Versus like, oh, I'm so tired. I can't breathe. We all can't breathe. We all can't breathe, guys. Just push it. Just look like you're trying. And like, if you look like you're trying, they're not gonna run as extra. But if you start walking, the coach is gonna run as extra. You gotta at least look like you're trying. Yeah, so like it was like little stuff I used to teach them, and it just got to a point one day in practice. I was going so hard, my coaches loved it that they used to think like I just didn't feel pain, and they used to think that. I used to actually complain for my last 3 years that my knee always hurt. I used to tell them, "It hurts, it hurts, it hurts." They'd be like, "Oh, Adaora, it's just patella tendonitis." I'd be like, "Low-key hurts more than my ACL when I first tore it, but okay, like it's patella tendonitis." So it got to this one practice where I was playing on the court, and when I was playing, I was running. We were running because one of our teammates didn't make a timer, so we were running. In my head, I didn't think I would have to run because not only like have I been running consistently, they know that I was the fastest post player for one. On top of being the fastest post player, I was beating most of the guards, and then they also knew like they had to save my body for when we were actually playing games, not just practice. So in my head, I'm like, okay, it hurts really bad. Like, so I'm looking at my athletic trainer, looking at my coaches to decide who's sitting on the bleachers. I'm expecting them to put me on a bike. They don't put me on a bike. And I've been there in their program for 3 years. They put the new people on the bike who had shoulder injuries. And I didn't really understand that. So I'm just like, hey, I'm the type of person I don't like to complain. I really don't like complaints. So I just got on the line and I ran. I ran until that started looking like a walk. And that's how much I ran. It started looking like a walk, and then the walk started looking like a limp. And the limp started looking like me limping and crying. So it got to that point where I just couldn't. I just couldn't. We just wrapped up practice, and then as soon as I went home, I woke up the next day and my whole leg had turned purple. I couldn't move it.
Oh,
I was very concerned. I was very concerned. So I called my mom because my mom's a medical doctor. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong with my leg? What do I do?" Da, da, da. So she told me what to do, and then she got it where it was just moving enough where I could bend it and walk a little bit. So she told me, you need to go tell your coach you're not playing no more. My mom was actually the one who told me to quit that day. For some reason, I hate quitting stuff. So it took me like months or weeks to not quit because she wanted me to quit that day. I'll be like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it, I'll do it." But then I'll see my teammates. Then I remember all the memories. I'll be like, "Oh, maybe if I could just try. Maybe I just got to push through a little bit harder." I don't want to leave my teammates. My teammates aren't going to be as happy because I really thrived off my teammates being happy because my teammates, the relationship I had is I used to be the very goofy one, the very outgoing one, the very silly one, and to the point where they never knew what I was going through or any struggles I was going through. So they tell me, "Oh my gosh, Dora, I'm so sad. Oh my gosh, Dora, I'm so depressed." But then I still motivate them to go through practice every single day. Half the problems they're going through, I was probably going through like times 3, times 4 of them. But they didn't know, and they never really asked, because I'm the type of person, if you don't ask me, I'm not gonna tell you, because I don't like boring people with details. And
Right.
and even if you do ask me, I still might not tell you, because hey, I gotta figure out how to resolve this issue and get going. I don't like thinking about an issue too long, because that turns into my identity. So I walked into my coach's office and I told her, I'm not practicing for 2 weeks until my knee feels better and you give me an MRI. Because this is not a patella tendonitis. My whole leg turned purple and I couldn't walk.
Oh my.
So she's like, okay. She's like, when do you think your leg's gonna feel better? What do you mean not practice? We need you for the game. I'm like, and I need my leg. So she eventually like agreed, because she didn't have a choice, because I'm telling her like I'm not going to do it. So we got an MRI. As soon as I got the MRI said I had no cartilage in my knee. No cartilage in my knee. And my coach looked at me. She was like, "Oh, I got you. I heard you got your MRI results. It said you didn't tear your ACL. That means you could practice and play." I was like, "I have no cartilage, and that's why I have so much pain." And she really tried to get me practice and play. So I don't like, again, I don't like giving up. So I definitely tried a couple practices. I definitely tried. It was a lot of limping. My coaches used to tell me, "Adora, you're not looking that good." And in my head, I'm like, I bet. I bet I'm not looking that good. Uh, And my coaches are a diehard of old fashioned. That's the difference between Gen Z and a little bit of older people. They're diehard old fashioned. What was working for them was putting me there, starting me playing over and over again, getting every rebound. Doesn't matter if Adora's tired. Doesn't matter if she's going through pain. It's me. And that's also part of the reason why I was used to go so hard with the freshmen, because I knew it couldn't just be me. I knew like realistic, like, hey, you have to have other plans. I knew realistically, hey, how I was feeling. And I was trying to like, guys, take my hand, help me, save me. I was trying to get that little assistance. So it got to a point where my coach kept trying to do that, and I used to tell them no, or sometimes I'll even like mess up on purpose so they could play the second string post and starting her. And then after that, they moved me again, and then I'm like, okay, mess up again and get play the freshman. I'm like, there's no way. I knew 100% there was no way I could make it through the season. There was absolutely no way I could make it through the season without me getting injured again. And that was like, I wasn't even joking. Like, if I went through the season, I would have either tore every single ligament in my knee or worse. Because I could barely even walk. I was limping just going to class. I couldn't even walk in regular time. So it got to a point. One time with my coaches, one my head coach, she had went to Florida because she was doing an alumni thing where she gives out crabs. It was one of our fundraisers. So it left with my assistant coach. My assistant coach did not like me very much. If you go ask him, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, da da da, he loves me." He didn't like me because I'm very realist. I'm a realist. So like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat. If something's not going the right way, I will see it and I will call it out. I'll be like, "Oh, this is what you're trying to do with this person. You're trying to sound nice so you can really get all of her information, and then tell her mom." Or essentially, I'll basically call it how it is, and he'll see that I actually am very smart and intelligent, that it wouldn't work with me. So his little tricks would never work with me, and he used to get a little frustrated. So he was coaching my practice. I didn't mind it, but then also my position coach, for some reason, she kept not giving me reps, because usually she would give me like 2 reps, and like, okay, Dora, you're done. This time she wasn't giving me reps. She was like, "Oh, Dora, cause you did something, da da da." Come to find out, what she said that I did was I went to work at Apple. I was so concerned when she wasn't giving me reps. I'm like, what could I possibly did? I'm like, all I do is play basketball, go to my grad school classes, work, and I'm tired. And I help the freshmen and do my vice president of women in computer. And I'm like, I don't have time to do anything. I'm like, does she think I was partying? And then she was like, "No, you went to work." And that's probably, and my coaches were so guaranteed that me working at Apple was the reason why my knee was hurting so much. It wasn't the Division 1 practice that I've been playing and running and jumping when I was shouldn't. It was definitely me working at Apple, asking people, "Hey, let me tell you your SIM card. Let me tell you your carrier." It was that. So they didn't want me to work, and also me working paid for extra money that for groceries, gas that they weren't paying for. So at the
Right.
end of the day, it was helping my career, and it was giving me that little extra money to cover those miscellaneous items. So I wasn't quitting no matter what they told me to. It was like, hey, this is actually helping my career, and the Apple was harder to get into than Ivy League schools. That's literally what they say in the interviews. It's harder to get into Apple than Ivy League schools. I'm like, that's not something I'm quitting. Like, even for me to quit for that software engineer role, it took a lot. So, um, right then and there, she gave me one rep. I just went through it. I was like, okay, da da da. Usually when somebody does that, especially a coach, you're looking for a reaction. I don't like to give reactions because it's just like, hey, it is what it is. So my coach didn't play me because I went to work at Apple. In my head, hey, it is what it is. Because I remember she had texted me expert individual like less than 30 minutes while I was at work. And realistically, nobody in their right mind can make an individual get on campus, get ready, get on the court with less than 30 minutes. So I already knew she was up to something. So I didn't respond until I was done with work. And I was just like, hey, I was at work. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie and tell you like I wasn't. I'm like, I was at work. You just didn't ask me if I was at work. So I didn't tell you. She was like, yeah, okay, da 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 da. I was like, okay, yeah. I wasn't really mad about it. So then she put me into practice and we ran this play called Five. I've been in this program for 3 years, starting. I know exactly how to run a 5. I go set the screen across the other block for my guard. My guard comes off of me, and then I put my hands up, and they give me the ball, and I put a layup. So I go set the screen. My guard is not there. I'm a very good teammate. Like how I told you, I love my teammates. They're my sisters. I'm never gonna snitch on them. I'm never gonna tell on them. So if they're not there, I'm gonna just set the dry screen. I'd rather me get blamed than them. Because I could take it. They might go ahead and start crying, and it might put them in spiral for weeks. I could take a little bit getting screamed at. So I set the screen. My player is not there. It was Jasmine. She was not there. So Coach Snyder, he comes and he's yelling. He's like, "Adora, you ran around, get off," and he tells the freshman to get on. And I knew he was doing that on purpose to get a reaction out of me. So and I was so upset. I was extremely upset. And I knew I was. So what I did is I went to the opposite side of the court because I was like, I'm not going to go to the side of the court with my teammates and then take my negative energy and start taking it out on them. So I went to the opposite side of the court by myself. And I was like, okay, let me go ahead, try to breathe, try to calm down. And then after we get to the next play, I'll move on. So after that, he says water break. Then as soon as we're doing a water break, my coach starts walking to me. My coach never talks to me. Like how I told you guys before, he never talks to me because he does not like me. He tells everybody he likes me, he loves me. He does not like me. Like, he's the type of person like if he sees me, he won't say good morning. He'll say good morning to the person behind me before he says good morning to me, unless somebody like his admin or somebody over him is with him. So he says, Adora, you ran that play wrong like 3 times. I told him, I only got on the court 1 time. So then he says, oh, no, I didn't mean 3 times today. I meant 3 times all week. I'm like, we didn't run 5 at all this week. This is the first time. And then he was like, oh, no. So he kept on going backwards and then trying to convince me and gaslight me to make a lie, to be like, oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe I did. And I knew I didn't. I ran that play so much, I was 100% sure that I ran it right. It was just like, hey, you guys don't treat your starting post player good as soon as she can't deliver for you. You don't treat me good, you don't treat my body good, and you don't treat my teammates good. So, I as soon as he said that, I knew I knew if I don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So
Right.
I told my athletic trainer, "Hey, I'm going to the bathroom." So then it was funny because usually we have to ask her. I was so upset. I just told her I'm going to the bathroom. Like I need a timeout ASAP. So I went to the locker room, and from then I never came back. That was the day I never came back to court. I knew that was it. Cause it was just like, hey, I'm not gonna keep getting disrespected, put in a box, and already like you guys are getting more value than I'm getting value. I'm skipping I'm skipping what I could be doing studying, trying to be elite in my grad school classes to be here with one leg. in pain 24/7 just so my teammates could be happy, and you guys won't even allow that. You guys are making me miserable, more miserable than I already am, that you guys don't necessarily know because you guys never even asked me how I feel. And as coaches, I feel like, especially female basketball coaches or any female athletics in general, females are more driven off emotion. So it's like, hey, just do check-ins with them. Like, how do you feel emotionally? But we never got any check-ins. Especially for me being there for 3 years, I have never got one check-in of, hey, how do you feel? It was only like a check-in when they knew they needed something like, hey, how do you feel? Are you coming back next year? And that's the only time. So, my position coach, she actually came. And my position coach, she's the reason I didn't play the previous year, but she came to know that it was her fault. And then she started being a little bit more softer to me, like, "Oh, I understand what you're going through. I understand why you come out as confident because you're actually hurting inside." So she was like, "Adora, do you really want to play?" She's like, "Be real with me, because if you don't want to play, you could just tell the head coach. You don't have to keep putting yourself through this." And I was like, "I really don't wanna play." She was like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna set up a meeting. You're gonna tell the head coach you don't wanna play, and you feel a whole lot better." So, I was actually very nervous for that meeting. I was so nervous. I was like, "How am I gonna tell my head coach who highlights me, I'm her favorite player, I entertain her the most, that I don't wanna play no more?" And it doesn't matter how bad my leg is hurting, she's gonna think that I just don't wanna play. She's convinced that I don't feel pain. As much pain as I feel, I don't feel pain. So I tell her, she's like, "Adora, tell me now. Do you wanna play? You better tell me now before we get into the season." And then the season starts getting ruined. I was like, "I don't wanna play." It was super emotional, but it was straight to the point. So I ended up not playing, and I'm not gonna lie, after I quit, I was actually the happiest I've ever been. It was like a whole, yeah, all the stress got relieved off my back that I've been carrying. I gotta start looking at different stuff like, hey, I have much more time to study for my grad school classes. I I know what homework to do. I know what I have more time to go to work at Apple, elevate in there, and actually had more time to actually sit with myself and learn myself. Like, oh, like this is who I am. Like this is what I like, and versus like me being told what to do every day. Me being told I need to be here. Me being told who I am. Like, Adori, you're supposed to be our power forward. No, I got to actually start looking at like, hey, this is what I like, and this is what I know, and this is what I really want to do. So that's pretty much like how my journey went for college athletics, especially being doing tech and doing like rigorous classes throughout.
So long journey of learning, how to fit in the different teams, finding your fit, finally realizing that, hey, I really, this is not what I need to be doing. I need to be doing my classes. I need to focus on the next step. A lot of people, if majority of people, I think at some point play athletics, but athletics are very mentally and physically tasking. I myself tore my MCL and meniscus and other things, and so I've been there with, had the scholarships and stuff like that. So I've been there with you, and I feel for you. And I know that it's a struggle to find, you have your coach leave and then new coaches come in, or is it really a great fit or not, right? So definitely feel you with all of the story there. So let's fast forward. So you're coming, you start your company, you get the 50 interns, and you're just like, man, I got to learn how to manage pretty quickly. Beforehand you had some teammates and you had the Apple experience, which, I we've had several people from Apple that had worked on Apple on my podcast recently, and I myself worked at Apple, and it's a great experience. There's a lot of great people you meet, and some brilliant people actually, and so you're doing your own company and you're managing these interns and trying to figure out how to manage meetings and all that. Let's just talk about that and just kind of, learning how to be a leader and then hiring some people. When did you decide to hire your first person?
Honestly, they just wanted to join. Like the first person turned into like 10 people in a week. It was just like, hey, I don't know where to start. It's so much. People, the paperwork is going through my ear and out the other ear. So as soon as I put out on social media on TikTok, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, especially because we originated trying to create a breast cancer AI for female tech. So a lot of popularity has sprung around that because that's actually one of our flagship products that we had wanted to do. We put on pause so we could get some more funded through education. So I was like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. Everybody want to be a part of that. And they're like, hey, I'm ready to be a part of that. I didn't even know where to start. So I was like, okay, you can join the team. You can join the team. And as we were joining the team, at first I was running it like we're a Division 1 practice. And I realized I realized very quick that's not how you're supposed to run it. I'm like, oh, you're just not going hard enough. You didn't put in more reps. Like you need to keep practicing. Like it's okay. You're tired. You just need to go harder, and then you'll be less tired. that that's how I was running it, and I just couldn't understand. I couldn't fathom. I was like, "What do you mean you're tired? I'm confused. Like you can't keep going." And then slowly started to realize I was like, "Oh, like it's even showing in my own body. I'm not supposed to feel like this, but I'm so used to feeling like this. I'm not realizing how unhealthy it is." So as soon as like just like how I told you previously, I started learning myself. So even running my own company, I was simultaneously learning myself in that process. I didn't even know I didn't even know what to do, and I didn't even know where to start. I didn't even know what I wanted to do, or where I wanted to start, or who I was, or what my beliefs or passions or non-negotiables were. So then I started realizing I was like 50 plus interns, and they're all coming to my inbox. I don't have a buffer. They're all asking me, "Hey, can I have access to this file?" I'm like, "Why did you put it in the channel? Anybody could give you access to the file if you just said it in the channel." I'm like, and I'm over here like, okay, because I'm an absolutely nice person. So it's like, hey, if I don't have something nice to say, I just can't respond in that moment until I have something nice to say. So sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, she's not responding, but she responded in this channel." uh, uh, you guys are stressing me out. So what I did, I started.
That's the leader, huh?
Yes, yes, yes. I learned very quickly why leading in big companies they require like 20 years of experience, 10 years of experience. Realized that so quick and so fast. So I was like, if people are doing it, I can 100% do it. So how are these people doing it? So I started studying. I started contacting like my family members. Like I remember I even contacted my lawyer cousin one day, and I was asking her for help. And she told me, reach out to me on a Monday. So now I started realizing, oh, that's the difference. I need boundaries and non-negotiables. So I started there. I started with my non-negotiables and boundaries. And people just still used to violate that like crazy. But that's where I started. I started telling people, as soon as it reaches 7 o'clock, don't outreach to me. Don't expect a message or consistent communication from me. As soon as it's a weekend, I'm also not going to be responding. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be working, but I'm going to be working for myself. I'm not going to be working for everybody. So like I started honestly there, and I made that rule for the whole company. So other people's time would be respected. So I'll be like, hey, the company doesn't operate on weekends, and the company doesn't operate after 7 p.m. Please respect people's time. And it was really hard at first because it was a global tech company. So it was like, oh, now we're trying to figure out like different time zones and cadences to that. So I just said like, okay, let's just start with Eastern time zone. I'm like, if you guys need a different time or any way we can make it best, just let us know. So I used to tell them, hey, you need a meeting at 7 a.m. Like I gotta stop my routines because I usually I'll be up at that time, but I don't work until it's like 1 p.m. I'll be up at like 5 a.m. But now I'm at 7 p.m. working at 7 a.m. trying to do meetings. That means I'm not doing my regular routine, and now I'm a little upset about that because it's like, hey, I don't get work out fully. I don't get to read fully. So I'm like, okay, sit on a meeting. Sometimes they wouldn't even join the meeting. It'll be like our teammates from UK. So then I started looking at block case for that. Like, okay, this isn't working out. So what's the next solution? Hey, if they really want a meeting, they have to figure out how to make it on our time or do communications asynchronously or listen to our recordings. So I started recording the meetings. And also when I first started, I used to have meetings for everything. I used to have 10 meetings a week. Imagine you starting a company, you just have 10 meetings a week for every department. You're like, health department, we have a meeting. Hardware department, we have meetings. We wouldn't really have nothing to say. It would probably be the same information, just in a different way, caters to them. So then I realized I'm burning myself out. My managers aren't even hosting the meetings because I think they're confused. So I'm just like, oh, I'm burning myself out. So then it got to a point where I only had 2 meetings a week. So my only 2 meetings would be like how we have our meetings right now. Mondays we have our meetings. We'll have our management meeting and then we'll have our team meeting. That's it. And then later on throughout the week, our executive might set up a meeting with the whole team. Like, hey, how are you guys going for the company? But pretty much that's it, unless we have any other asynchronous, synchronous or collabs or partnership calls that we're doing with another company. But that solved a lot of issues. And then sometimes I might even realize like, hey, I'm talking too much. If a meeting's scheduled for 1 hour, I should really try to aim for it to be 40 minutes. If it was 40 minutes, try to aim for it to be 30 minutes. Gen Z doesn't have time, like the ability to keep up with time. They get bored very quick. And I started learning like, hey, I'm in Gen Z. What do I not like my teachers doing? What do I not like adults doing? So now I'll be like, hey, I know you guys aren't paying attention because I know you guys have your cameras off because you're on your phone. But turn your cameras on. So I'll be like, Dad, I'll call it a spade because I'll be like, I know what I'll do. So turn your cameras on so I can see what you guys are doing. So like we'll have those type of rules set up, and then also it moved on to the next phase where I started looking at, okay, what's another thing I could grow off? It was just a whole bunch of data collection and it growing as I go. So I'll start seeing like, hey, everybody who started with the company is not meant to stay in the company. So I realized some people who are accelerators were very disorganized or it just kept invading or breaking the same rules over and over again. As much as I like them, especially from a female standpoint, because it's very hard for females to let things go if they feel like they're emotionally tied to them. So as much as I like them as a person and how nice they are, if they're burning me out and they're texting me at 11 p.m. about something that's unrelated to work about or asking me questions or I'm hearing the same complaints that I'm having in my head to other teammates, I'm like, okay, you have to go because what I can tolerate is probably going to be like 10x of what a normal person can tolerate. So I can tolerate somebody blowing up my phone because I just won't pick up my phone. Somebody else will be like, "Oh my gosh, you're driving me crazy. I'm about to go into a mental house right now." So, I used to be like, "Okay, we got to resolve this." I have different management meetings. I have different collective meetings, and I started realizing who are people who I think is going to stay in the company for a long term, and who are people who I think they aren't. So then that's how I structured the managers versus the team members and versus the leads. So like even with how I structure in my company, I tell them like, hey, the leads are the people who, when we get revenue, we're paying them. Those are the people who we're looking to stay in the company. The team members, the interns, those are people who are looking to like just grow them into the best version of themselves and help us as we go. So it started with there. Even when I started my company, I realized very quickly you can't put somebody in a box. Like me applying to a software engineer role is so putting me in a box. But I look at people's strengths and weaknesses. I'm like, hey, what can you do? I ask them, what do you want to do? Do you really want to do software or do you want to try fintech? Do you want to try this? They'll be like, hey, I don't know. Let me try it. And they'll go ahead and try it. They'll love it. Some people will love it and stay there. Some people might be like, hey, I don't like this. Can I try something else? I'd be like, sure, absolutely. I allow them the free autonomy. So like within my company, they have their own right. Like just like how I talk, they can go talk to executive and be like, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. In a normal company, they'd be like, oh my gosh, this little intern told an executive that their idea wasn't very good. But that's exactly what we want. That's exactly how we grow, and that's exactly how we scale.
And it brings up a point when we talked last that I thought was very smart of you when you were saying, about because right now you're learning, you're going through these stages, you're hiring, you're firing, you're learning who's good at what. But you were talking about how you realize that the roles adapt to the people and not people to the roles, and I thought that was kind of very unique that someone of your age would say that, and I thought that was really cool. And is that kind of what you're talking about now, where you're saying, you realize that maybe some people's strengths were needed elsewhere?
Yes, absolutely. For example, somebody who comes into the company, I might get feedback from the managers. Hey, this person can't hold a secret, but they like to tell everybody the business. They like to tell everybody business. So I'm like, hey, Instead of this person just not being a part of it because you feel like they can't hold a secret, look at their strengths and look at their weaknesses. They can't hold a secret. So what does that mean? They can't work with anything internally. They can't touch our internal platforms. They can't touch our internal softwares. But what does that mean for a strength? We could probably put them in sales. We could probably put them in marketing. They'll help us a lot in partnerships. So just give them the information we're trying to put out and get them to sell it. Well, let's create a role around that. They want to do cybersecurity? Let's create a role about intelligence for them, market intelligence. So they'll adapt into the people's roles. Like, hey, I don't know what I want to do. I really like finance, but I really want to be part of the software team. Okay, you can do fintech. Like it really depends on the person. Like a lot, we have a couple marketing interns. We have somebody who works under local school newspaper, but he's a cyber genius. He does cyber marketing, created that just for him. So again, creating roles for people. That's how they grow. That's how they love it, and that's how they love being there. Like I was even talking to my manager today about an intern. She chose literally not to go home to her family in India to do our internship, and I was like, she could go home to her family in India. She can go home. We're remote, but like that's how bad she wanted to stay here. Like she's telling my manager, "Hey, is it okay if I still stay here? I know I applied for the winter internship, but it's February. Is it okay if I still stay here?" Like, yeah, if you really want to stay here, yes, you're doing the work. You're showing up even when you're not. And she also taking 10 classes. Like these people are like, it's not like just have the casual time. They're going through it. Like the people who have like 10 classes, a job, full-time job, a life outside of it. They're our best interns. They're the ones who deliver, and they deliver quick. If they can't do something, they communicate quick. Like, hey, I'm super tired. I'm not gonna be at this meeting, and that's all we ask for them. We don't ask for them to deliver the most work. We don't ask for them to know everything. We just ask for them, hey, be willing to put your best foot forward and be willing to communicate. If you have the soft skills, we'll give you the technical skills.
Nice. I love that. And, we were talking about last time that you had hired some people overseas, and you learned quickly that, there's some different rules hiring people, outside the country and going global. Right. And so maybe you kind of put some pause, on hiring overseas, but, definitely keeping people here in the US. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Okay. So like hiring people overseas, the first thing you gotta realize is the time zone differences. Like it's not just an hour, it's not just 3 hours. It's like when you're going to bed, that's when they're waking up. Well, when they're waking up, that's when you're super tired trying to go to bed. And being able to figure out how to communicate, how to properly make sure they're delivering, how to properly make sure they properly understand, how to make sure they actually want to be here and they just don't and aren't just using it for a resume builder. So with hiring people overseas, we had a lot of good cases, but for the most part, we had a lot of bad because it's like they're more prone to the people who build their resumes out to look like they know everything or have the interviews and they know everything, and then you give them the task that they said they knew, and they're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm so confused. Can you give me a step by step by step by step? And I'm like, oh, you told me in the interview you knew how to do this like a pro. So I realized that, and that's part of the reason why actually our software manager, she helped me create our talent navigator, our HR system, where it's like a 6-step interview process where like they have to go through our technical tests and verbal tests, showing us like, hey, they can actually do technical skills depending on what they're applying for, and then also verbally showing their personality, how they talk, if they're reading off their screen or if they're just like, hey, this is who I am.
Love that. Love that. I mean, so it sounds to me like you're learning really quickly on hiring and firing and leadership. And I just kind of, let's get into your cybersecurity education. Why that, and why technology for you?
So why technology for me? I just feel like growing up, I've unconsciously always just been attracted to technology. Like I used to binge watch Criminal Minds just so I could watch Penelope Garcia over and over and over again. That was my girl. Any type of spy or any type of person who was like impossible, I used to love those type of people. So unconsciously, I didn't realize that until now, and I was like, "What did I like growing up?" When I reflected it, I was like, oh, that's why I'm in tech, and that's why I'm in cybersecurity. So tech tech changes fast. It's hard, but it changes fast, and it changes live in front of your face. That's part of the reason why I picked tech instead of biology, tech instead of being a doctor. I don't want to read through a textbook. I want to make a real change and I want to make it fast. I want to see the change happen. So that's part of the reason why I picked tech. I could do hard and interesting. I cannot do hard and boring. Um, Getting into my cyber educational platform, I realized people need it because people get scammed all the time. People get their data leaked all the time. People they don't know how to protect themselves, and people think all the firewalls will help them that they install. I'm like, those won't help you if you don't know what to look for yourself. I tell them, hey, the biggest firewall is your brain. If you can understand even the basics of what to look for, what to click, what to say, what to not say, or what to do, then you'll be good. So I wanted to actually start young. I really wanted to start young, and then I started getting a lot of feedback. I started getting feedback like, "Hey, some people just want to be confident because I was getting a lot of career advice for cybersecurity. Like, how do I break into cyber? How do I break into cyber? Like the 20,000 questions of 20,000 people asking you the same question. Like, how do you break into cyber? So I was cultivating it to them at first, but then I realized everybody does that. I don't want to do something that everybody does. So then I wanted to target a little bit more towards teens because at that time I was also teaching a teenager already cybersecurity. I hop on calls. She didn't know cybersecurity at all, and now she's telling me, yeah. So I put my Instagram on private, and then I was able to put a VPN and two-factor authentication, and then also I created what a Trojan horse is, a poster, and I showed it to my whole family. I was like, okay, great job. So like, they went from not knowing cybersecurity at all to being cyber confident, like, and tell me, oh yeah. So I was playing Roblox with my friends, and I was telling them, don't be adding those random people. Like you don't even know them. Don't add those random people. People don't understand what their kids are doing, and a lot of parents swear they know their kids. That's the point. As a kid, you hide what you hide. You like to hide everything. That's what you see in the news a lot of times. The parents will be like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know my kid was doing it. They're just so lovely. They're just so this. They're just so that." Because kids are meant to hide. They don't want you to know stuff. But if they know themselves and know how to protect themselves, they'd rather do it. Because even for me, like a lot of stuff my mom tells me I won't do it. Like that's the story of my life. If you ask my mom, she told me to start this tech company. She absolutely told me no. She told me go get a job with my degree. She said there's no reason to start a company. A company for what? She's like, is the company giving you millions of dollars? I'm like, it doesn't. It's not gonna get millions of dollars in a year, but it's gonna create that impact, the impact that's needed. So, the cyber edu platform, it was targeted for teens, career changers, and then also people who want to stay cyber confident with cybersecurity. So like adults who want to protect their family, or people who are like the older generation who always get scams. Like my grandma, she was like, Dora, my phone got hacked. I asked her, what happens to your phone? All my pictures deleted. So I'm like, did your phone reset or did you get hacked? She's like, Adora, I don't know. So, like, even them, like, I was talking to an older guy who he's 84. He was telling me how his daughter has his phone all locked up because he got hacked by pressing something he didn't know from people in Mexico. If people were on my platform, they would they wouldn't even have to go through that issue. Like, somebody said you got a UPS package the other day. Okay, just copy and paste that message into our scam detector. It'll tell you if it's real or not, or the likelihood, and then you could be somewhat educated. Be like, okay, this is the probability of it actually being a scam, and this is why it thinks it's a scam. Or like, hey, how do I protect myself on social media? People say, hey, why do I need to know cybersecurity? You have a phone, don't you? You have a laptop, don't you? You get on social media or even get on the internet. You need to know cybersecurity. The same way you lock the door to your house is the same way you should be locking your digital door.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more with all of that. I think it's nice that there is a education gap there. There's a lot of people that they don't learn until something happens, right? So definitely education's a big part of that. I'm just excited for you and your journey, starting your own business, being an entrepreneur, and it's exciting to hear you taking your experience and you're doing your own thing. And one question I like to ask people before we end the podcast is just you've seems like you're really close to your mom, but and it could be her. But is there anybody else that or even your mom that basically was just an inspiration, somebody that was influential in your journey so far, and how they changed the game for you?
I would really say it's everybody who told me I couldn't. That those are people who were really their inspirations. It wasn't anybody who told me anything positive. It was anybody who put me through the ringer, who told me I couldn't, who told me, hey, because I came from Nigeria, I didn't know English. Who told me, hey, Adora, you don't know how to say the word brother. Oh, you're never gonna learn English. Or Adora, you're never gonna go play basketball D1. Oh, Adora, you're never gonna do this. Those are all the people who are my inspiration. I just be like, oh, okay, that's perfect. And I showed them the reason I can. My mom was like, "Oh, it doesn't make sense." And now every day she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing so great. Like you need to keep it up." So like the people who are my biggest haters, they always turn into my biggest fans, and I really appreciate them because it's like people take that as ill intent. I take that as data. I take that as data collection, and it's just how you perceive it. Like if you perceive it negatively, you're not going to do anything with it. If you perceive it positively, you're going to always grow. People always ask me, "How do I stay positive after going through so much?" I'm like, "It's just life. It's all how you perceive your life." If I perceive as, "Hey, it was just a part of my journey. It was just lessons I had to learn." My first year of college, I thought it was going to be game over for me, but I'm still here. So I'm like, if I could deal with that, I could deal with that and so much more. I just have to keep doing it and doing it over again.
Well, I love the fact that, you just, you got that athletic, that killer mindset of just like, I'm going to prove the haters wrong. I'm going to task it. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to, pull up my sleeves and get it done, and, get through the pressure. You can tell through your story that you persevered. And also I just like the fact that you're a woman in tech, and you're a woman business leader. I've got a daughter, that I feel like she's, it reminds me a lot of you, just goofy and just, loves athletics and, loves being, taking tasks. And she, definitely does not like being told no. Uh, it's just, I think there's a commonality here, and, it's actually, how about this? What would you say to the younger generation that wants to be a business owner, and maybe even a business owner in tech? And, what would be your message to them?
To the younger generation who would want to be a business owner, I'll be like, find out your why first. Is your why? If your why is just to get on people's nerves, you're not gonna go that far. But if your why is to actually cause impact, you're gonna grow and scale. Like finding it out as early as possible is what's gonna give you that leverage, because it gives you a whole lot more time. That's why I'm glad that I'm starting my business right now while I'm just 24. I'm scaling it versus like, hey, I'll wait till like I'm 35 and they're like, okay, let me quit my job. I always wanted to do this business. Find it out early. Find out what's the biggest challenge or change that you think you want to make and do it. It doesn't matter how big it is. Go big or go home, like they say in the ballpark. People tell me all the time, breast cancer, you can't do nothing with breast cancer. That's so hard. That's unbeatable. And you're gonna watch me do it. So find the biggest challenge and do it.
Love that. Adore, this has been awesome. Before we wrap up, tell people where they can find you, where they can follow what you're building, and anything you want to point to them right now.
Okay, so you guys can follow us. All our socials are at Adaverse.tech. So it's ADAVERSE.tech. And then our website is also www.adaverse.tech. So you can follow us there. And then our product for our cyber edu platform is Synthara. So Synthara.vip.
If you got value from this conversation, share it with another operator, founder who's building a remote or hybrid team. And if you want to see more episodes like this, please follow the show wherever you listen. And Adora, again, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jake.
Thanks. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Of course.
Remote First Innovators podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.